Hey everyone, welcome to Judging for the Win. I'm Dave, and this is my daily ruling. Today's question comes to us from a viewer. Thanks to Mia Schwartz for this one. Amy is building a deck, and she wants her companion to be Zirda. Is it possible for Amy to play her favorite card, Urza Saga, in this deck? First of all, if anybody's wondering why Urza Saga is Amy's favorite Magic card, maybe it's because every time it shows up in a thumbnail, the video gets thousands of views more than it's expected to. Someone out there has to really like that card, am I right? But if we take a look at the card and see if it has any activated abilities, well, that might be another thing. So first of all, let's remind ourselves that an activated ability just means an ability that has a colon in it. So, do we see anything like that on Urza Saga? And of course we do. A fully evolved Urza Saga would have not one, but two activated abilities. Of course, notice what I said there. A fully evolved Urza Saga. You see, when it starts out, there's actually a time on the battlefield when Urza Saga has no activated abilities, because those activated abilities aren't always part of the card itself. They're something that the card gives itself, and the thing that it uses to give itself those activated abilities are triggered abilities. So that means that when it's in your deck, which is where Zirda is looking at it, it would not have those activated abilities yet. All it would have would be its 3 chapter abilities, and unfortunately, that does not count as far as Zirda is concerned. It's going to need to see an actual real-life activated ability on the card while it's in your deck. And that's something that Urza Saga unfortunately does not have. So it would not be possible to play Urza Saga. Alright, well, Amy is pretty bummed out about that. Maybe her second favorite card, Fable of the Mirror Breaker, would be eligible instead. Man, Amy really does like sagas, huh? So if you're looking at this card and wondering why Amy might even think that this one should work, well, maybe it would help if you looked at the back. And okay, even though the front didn't have any activated abilities, this back face of Fable of the Mirror Breaker definitely does have a real-life, honest-to-goodness activated ability. So that should certainly work, right? Well, that's unfortunate. So it turns out that thing that we did, where we looked at the back face of the card, that's not really something the game knows how to do. Anytime a card that's a double-faced card is in your deck, only the characteristics of the front face are going to be visible to the game. It's going to treat the back face as though it doesn't exist at all. So again, the Zirda is going to look at this in your deck, and it's going to see a card with no activated abilities. So that means Amy would not be able to play this one either. Bad beats, Amy. So maybe we can cheer Amy up with some examples of cards that look like they might not work, but actually end up working. So one example of that would be something like an Ondu Inversion. So just like before, we're not going to be able to see the back face of this card while it's in our deck. And the back face is the only face that has an activated ability. However, if we take a look at the front face is not a permanent card, and so that means that Zirda is not even going to expect this one to have an activated ability. So it would be perfectly fine to put a card like this in our deck. Another loophole that we could take advantage of is the fact that even though Zirda is looking at permanent cards to have an activated ability, it doesn't have to be an activated ability that is going to be relevant for it as a permanent card. So, for example, if we had something like a Valiant Rescuer that has the cycling ability, cycling is an activated ability, and it definitely would have that ability even when it's in your deck. And that's good news because cycling, being an activated ability in your deck, means that you can play the Valiant Rescuer, even though you're probably not going to be using the cycling ability at all when it's on the battlefield as a permanent card. You just would be using it when it's in your hand. As an aside, the Zirda is going to help you out with your cycling costs when it's on the battlefield. That ability that it has specifies all activated abilities, and so that means you would be able to have a synergy there, and it would make your cycling costs cheaper to activate. So that would be kind of a cool card to put in. And so for a final example of something that would be eligible for inclusion, but people might not think, is a basic planes. Now come on, everybody knows that basic planes have an activated ability that taps them for white mana, right? Well, I don't know about that. You see, if you look at that card that I pulled up on screen there, it doesn't look like there's any activated abilities written on that at all. So what gives? Well, it turns out that the game rules actually do have a thing that says any land that has any of the basic land types is going to have an appropriate activated ability that adds the mana of that land's type. However, we have to take a close look in the comprehensive rules to see exactly how that's worded. As you can see here, that rule is indeed worded in such a way that it gives the ability to any object, and not permanent, that has the appropriate characteristics. That's important because objects can include things that are in your deck, unlike permanents. So that means that the game rules are worded in such a way that the inherent ability to tap for mana that each basic land has is going to count when Zirda is looking at your deck to see if all of your permanent cards have an activated ability. So, crisis averted. You definitely can play basic lands in your Zirda decks after all, even though they don't actually have any activated abilities written on them. It's definitely a good idea to take a look at the comprehensive rules anytime you're curious about something like this, especially when we're dealing with stuff like the cycling case. There's certainly lots of different things that have been keyworded in Magic's history, and only some of them are activated abilities. You need to take a look in the comprehensive rules to see if there's a colon or not, because that's the only way that you can know for sure whether something does or does not have an activated ability on it. Sometimes the colon gets put into the reminder text, but sometimes there isn't any reminder text, or sometimes the reminder text is from so long ago that it's not accurate anymore. Definitely check the comprehensive rules, and that's the way you can get an answer for sure. That's all the examples that I have for today. I tried to catch a wide range of things that Zirda could or could not care about, but I certainly didn't get all of the interesting examples. What are your favorite cards to put in a Zirda deck? But that's all I have for you today. Join me again next time for another daily ruling, but until then, I hope you have a great day.